go. Let's go. Are you fired up, you guys? Holm versus Lorenzo Lamas, main event, UFC Vegas 55. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I got to bring extra energy today, you guys. I got to come out here and just blow it out of the water because this is not the UFC's best effort at pleasing the fans this week. We got a week off next week, and I kind of feel like I'm working for nothing this week, but we've got 11 fights to break down. All of them are coming up on this Saturday, headlined by Holm versus Ketlen Vieira. We've got a motley crew of fights here. This is that $1 store that you go to that has the hair dryer next to the barbecue sauce, and you're like, who the hell decided to put these next to each other? And how does this make any sense at all? This is that fight card, you guys. I don't know what we're going to do with this, but we're here every damn week. We bring the stats every week. We bring this tape study every week. We bring all the angles. We find as much value as we can, and the goal always is to stack cash tickets like flapjacks and also to have pockets thicker than Parker Porter, you guys. And it is Parker Porter fight week. There are some bright spots on this card. Michel Pereira versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. The return of Holm after a year and a half off. Chase Hooper. Oh boy. I mean, Joseph Holmes versus Alen Amedovski. Ja, help us. We've got to find something here, you guys. And in order to make these pockets fat, we're going to need to find the angles. And speaking of fat pockets, my guy, Lou Sasshole, just a tip for his Uncle Weezy. My man, Lou, thank you so much for donating to the show. Ring a ding ding. We got a donation starting off the show. The first in the chat, the first to donate. My guy, Lou. Let's get it, Lou. Thanks for supporting the show. My guy, Brandon, who's always in here supporting, always with the kind words, always taking notes for probability. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you in here, brother. We got Daz Files saying Smooth Jimmy in the house. Yes, he is. We got Papa Chuck saying, imagine the tail Smooth Jimmy pulls. Probably gets a chocolate milkshake daily. Dude, let me tell you something. I've been to a couple of parties with Smooth Jimmy. This guy gets more ass than a toilet seat, all right? He is very confident. Everybody knows that he's right 52% of the time, and he'll just walk up to some random lady, usually about 40 years younger than him, and he'll be like, I'm Smooth Jimmy Apollo. I'm right 52% of the time, and my prediction is that you're going to bed with me tonight. I'm telling you, it works like 53% of the time. The other 47% of the time he gets slapped, but who cares? We've all been slapped a time or two. It's not really about how you start, you guys. It's how you finish. And Smooth Jimmy's always looking to finish in the green, you guys. We got Prince of Mischief saying, I've set my alarm and I'm ready to rock and roll. Question, what is the most amount of tickets you stacked in one night? Well, you can go to my Bet MMA Tips account and track all of my gambling decisions I've made since October of last year. The best night I think I've had is 5.8 units up tracked. But I actually think the best week I ever had outside of DFS, where I've won a couple of thousand in one night before, was to win last week. I hit the 4-leg parlay, which was up almost 5 units, and I was up 3.1 units tracked, so about 8 units altogether last week. Was a really good week for me, but it's been a fantastic 2022, Prince of Mischief. I've had 4 losing weeks this year, and all 4 losing weeks were down less than 1 unit. And every other, I think I'm 11-4 in terms of winning weeks this week or this year, and I'm up in the neighborhood of 30 units. So it's been a great year so far, and I'm looking to keep that ball rolling. We've got Joseph Holmes plus Polyana Viana, plus a lot of Morales's ratings gold. And he's asking, is the plural of Morales Morali? And that is correct. It is Morali. That's how you say more than one Morales. Yes. Thank you. My guy Lou Bet. Yeah, Kevin Atari in the room saying, "Oi, what's up, Kevin? Good to see you in here, brother." And then we got Victor De Jesus in the room saying, "Oi, yes. What's up, Weezy and chat? Can't believe we get to see the GOAT this weekend inside of the Octagon." Of course, I'm talking about Parker Porter. Let's make this money. Let's do it, Vic. Let's get into it, my man. We got Mushroom in the room saying, "Uncle Weezy, a consummate professional. Hope you are well this evening. Thanks for all the hard work. Much respect, sir. Let's fucking go, you guys. Oi! Let's go." Equity Sports Analytics in the room saying, "What's up, Uncle Weezy? Let's smash this card and then take a well-deserved mental vacation." And let me tell you something. We need it. We need it. 7 weeks in a row. We're going to have 1 week off. And then I believe Brady, my guy DFS by the numbers, who's next in the chat here, saying, "Oi, yes." We've got 10 weeks in a row after this week off. So your Uncle Weezy is going to be a goddamn mess after that 10-week stretch and really going to need a week off. But glad to have the week off coming up after this week. Kind of recharge the batteries and get ready for another long slog. Zach Singleton saying, "Oi." Jesse saying, "Oi." Z Goler saying, "Oi." Mushroom saying, "What's up to all the fellow degens in the chat?" Victor De Jesus reminding you to hit that thumbs up button right away. Mark Schillingberg saying, "What's up, Weezy?" Oi. Lou, Brady, Daz, how we doing tonight? Chris for the love MMA in the room. Oi. Who could ask for a better headliner? Fight of the century right here. Let's go, fam. JP Myberger saying, "Oi, my boys." Keith Weaver saying, "Weezy owes us those flapjacks for breakfast, keeping us up so late, but we'll take cashing tickets instead." Let's go, man. Let's go, Keith. Let's get it this week. Mark Schillingberg said, "I hit the like about 2 hours ago." Chris for the love saying, "Laughing my ass off, Mark. Respect LOL. I always like before the stream, too. Always appreciated. Love the late night shows when I can stay up. It's perfect right after I get the kids in bed and the house quiets down." And then once the house quiets down, you got your Uncle Weezy yelling "Oi" about 30 different times. And Daz File saying, "Hey, Mark, let's go. Oi." And Chris saying, "Daz." Tristan saying, "Let's go." We've got Mushroom saying, debonair to statistical genius. Palomas, robes, culminating in an ass shaving, truly sophisticated. Let's enjoy ourselves tonight. We've got Ken Knowles saying, "Gang, gang, love you, dog." What's up, Ken? Thanks for coming out, my man. We've got Mr. D saying, "Hey, Uncle Weezy, let's go." What's up, Mr. D? We got Jeremiah Nicola saying, "Let's get some of the wisdom, Monk. How's the night going?" We're going good so far, you guys. 55 of you guys hanging out in here with me. So appreciate each and every one of you guys. We got Daz Files saying, "Chris smashing bookies preludes." We got Sergio's a Butte with a ring-a-ding-ding donation for his Uncle Weezy saying, "Thanks for last week's Parlay." Let's go, dude. I love cashing those plus 987s, man. You can't do any better than that. I love it. Wow, and we've got a lot. You guys are absolutely killing it in the chat. We got JP62 saying, "Oi, let's rob the bookies. Let's go." Kim V saying, "What's up, Uncle Weezy? 3rd week in a row I've made it here and going strong. Let's go." Showing those flapjacks in that money bag. Justin Viegas saying, "All aboard the Pereira hype train." Well, there's a little bit of hype on him, but he's been good, man. It's not just hype. Pereira's starting to fight pretty smart here, and he's putting it all together. He's got the athletic gifts, he's got the size, and he's got the stand-up, and he's able to mix in that wrestling, so he's been looking really good. We got Mexicano MMA Master saying, "Everyone keeps complaining, man, trashing the cards. Yes, they might not be quality fights, but also know that the UFC can't force fighters to fight on their schedule. Most time the fighters are..." Let me see what he says to finish up here. "The ones turning down the fights for whatever reason. Now, this is what they can offer, so let's just be grateful we have something to watch other than shootings on TV. We got Wheel Kick Ignacio saying, "Let's get it, Weezy." We got my guy Jesse in here giving a $20 donation to his Uncle Weezy saying, "Great job on the Greasy parlay. I added a 5th leg and got 23-1. Jesse, let's go. I love hearing you guys stack cash tickets like flapjacks. That's awesome. Worth it saying, just hit that thumbs up button. And Jesse, once again, thank you for that very kind donation. It means a lot, man. Keeping the lights on here at Uncle Weezy's house. We got Daz File saying, "What's up to Jesse?" Trying to think what to call us Uncle Weezy fanatics. Weezers? I don't know. We're going to have to think about that. Somebody said the Oi Boys. I kind of liked that one, man. We got my guy Mike in here, the Couch Warrior podcast, who does a show with my guy Lou Betcha over on the MMA Engine YouTube channel called The Bet Elevator. Go check that one out. What's up, Couch Warrior? Thanks for hanging out tonight. Daz Files saying Weezers has been suggested in Unk Army. Oh, Unk Army. I've never heard that one. I like that one too, man. Evan L saying, hell yeah, made an Uncle Weezy live stream. There we go, Evan. Thanks for coming out, man. John Smith saying, I cashed out of the 4-leg because of the story about Candelario dying on the scales. That's a bummer. But, you know, the problem was that I put that bet in before the weigh-ins, and believe me, the weigh-ins scared me. That fight wouldn't go over 2.5 rounds. And let's face it, it was a sweat. It was an absolute sweat. Tyra had him in all kinds of trouble in the second round, but he made it. So we cashed it. I'm sorry to hear you pulled out, but it sometimes those narrative things, you got to just look the narrative right in the face and say, you know what, was the read that we originally made right? Because these guys got more than 24 hours to recuperate from the weight cut. And we've seen Candelario have tough weight cuts before. So yeah, he's a very difficult guy to finish. And that was one of the reasons for making that bet. The other reason was the bookies were giving us a little bit of an edge there. So we took it and we made some money. We got John Rashmel saying, is the ass shaving a good thing or bad? The ass shaving of the week just means it's my most confident pick of the week, and it means that whoever I pick to shave ass is probably going to win in dominant fashion. So it's a good thing if you're betting on the person that's going to be shaving ass. If you're betting on the person that's going to get their ass shaved, it's a very bad thing, John. Jeff K saying, Parker Porter, my man. B saying, oi, Weezy Nation, let's make some money. Let's go, man. What's up, Evan? Evan L saying, these last few fight cards have been money. Had a rough start, but March, April, and May has been good. Yeah, for me too, man. Stellar saying, hope all is well, Weezy. What's up, Stellar? We got John Portilla in the room saying, oi, let's go. Nigel Lee saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy and gang? I heard I can get just the tip in and not get in trouble here. That is absolutely right. Ready to stack like flapjacks. Let's go. Sean V saying, Weezy 2024. Dixon, your mommy. UFC Vegas 55 brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER. Oi! DJ is saying Porter the GOAT. Yes, he is. My guy Daz Files keeping the lights on here at Uncle Weezy's house with a donation saying, bet smart, maintain the right mindset, and let's bash these bookies. That is lucrative MMA. Sometimes the best bets we take are the ones we don't make. My guy Tim Troiano quote there. I love that, man. Very nice. And let's see. We got wow. Okay. So we're already 15 minutes in. Gutierrez Silva in the room. Jeff K say, where does one shop for smoking jackets in Chicago? You'd have to ask my grandfather who died before I was born, because this was his. He got it at Marshall Fields back in 1950, if I remember correctly. But Marshall Fields no longer exists. And if you want to find a good smoking jacket, you kind of got to go online to certain boutiques. I do have another one that is a 3/4 length black crushed velvet smoking jacket that I really only bring out for the most special of special occasions. Sean saying, yo, Mushroom. Matthew Chalk saying, oi. Oxygen 3000 with a donation saying a little bit of profit sharing from last week's event. Thanks, Weezy. Thank you, Oxygen. Much love to you. Nick Sisson saying, I'm with the Mexicano Master. Even though the lesser fighters need a platform to perform on, every week can't be a pay-per-view. That's for sure. But when you're a content creator like me and you're required to work every week that there is a card, and you've worked 6 weeks in a row, and the 7th week is something where they put together a slipshod card of mostly subpar fighters that I've got to work an extra week now for. It seems like more of a contractual obligation than let's get some of these lesser known fighters a chance to show their stuff, because this looks like when you have an obligation and you throw something together at the last minute and you don't care. That's what this looks like to me. And, I just feel like they're watering down the product a little bit. And I mean, that's what this card is. It could turn out to be an awesome card. And, no matter what, you guys, I'm going to be here whether I think the card is trash or not. So I'm here to work, but it's not always great. These last couple of days have been beautiful in Chicago, mid 70s, not a cloud in the sky, beautiful outside. And instead of going for like 3-hour walks with my dog, I'm in here watching tape on Polyana, Viana, Chase Hooper, Joe Holmes, Alen Amedovski. Guys, they got to do better than this. They can do better than this, but it's just gotten very corporate. And I don't like that Disney's involved. I don't like that ESPN is involved. I think they're watering down this product, and I think that some of it might even be intentional. How about the stat chat? And Mark says likes the Unk Army. But you know what, you guys, I got to get through the chat here. Yeah, and this exactly just fills it. Yeah, ESPN needs something to fill airtime. So if they make Poirier Diaz, who would you have in that one? I don't even know which Diaz. I would just take Poirier. Diaz brothers are shot. Early prediction versus Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner. No pressure if you don't have a side yet. I'm going to pick Jalen Turner because I think that dude is just absolutely special. But I have to really tape that fight before I decide to make a bet on it because Brad Riddell is no joke at all. But in the meantime, you guys, I am going to share the screen with my guy Smooth Jimmy Apollo right here, and we are going to get into breaking down all 11 of these fights from a statistical and tape study perspective. And we are going to give you a greasy four-legger at the end of the show and finish like we always do with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. The very first fight, Elise Reed versus Sam Page. Both of these ladies, 29 years old. They're both not very tall. As we got Sam Hughes is at 5'5", Elise Reed 5'3". Sam Hughes is going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage here. Hughes has got 3 more pro fights, about 10 minutes more in the pro cage, and both these ladies are very new to MMA. As Sam Hughes has only had a 3-year career, and for Elise Reed, it's been 2.5 years. Sam Hughes, 1 more fight at the UFC level and about 32 more minutes in the UFC cage. So Hughes has got the size advantage, and Hughes has got the experience advantage. She's also the better finisher, having finished 4 of her 5 pro wins, and she has been finished in 2 of her 4 pro losses, while for Elise Reed, she's been knocked out in her only loss by, but it was up at 125 pounds. Elise Reed absorbing a few more strikes than she lands, and it's the same thing for Hughes. Reed's more accurate and better defensively. Sam Hughes has been knocked down. Elise Reed has never been knocked down. So Reed comes from a kickboxing taekwondo background, and what Elise Reed's best weapon is the straight right hand. And she is an orthodox fighter, so she doesn't even really mess around with the jab that much. She was just popping Corey McKenna with that straight right hand pretty much the whole fight, and she's very accurate with it. It's straight to the target. It hurts, and she does throw a lot of distance kicks when she's not worried about being taken down by her opponents. So you do see some of that when you go and watch the regional scene footage. However, against Corey McKenna, she was mostly working with her hands because she had a huge reach advantage over Corey and was a 10 times better striker than Corey. So she got a really easy fight because Corey chose not to wrestle. Now, Sam is a pretty good kickboxer as well. She's much better than Corey McKenna on the feet, so she could actually win some minutes here against Elise Reed on the feet. She's got the 2.5-inch reach advantage here. She's a couple inches taller, but Reed will do a good job keeping distance with those kicks. But since Sam Hughes has moved over to Fortis MMA, we did see her in her last fight against Estela Nunez start to show a little bit of pressure and actually showed a game plan. So I think that this is an interesting spot here because I don't think there's much separating these ladies on the feet, even though I do think that Elise Reed will be the one doing the better work on the feet and probably winning the minutes there, probably landing the bigger shots. But what we saw from Sam Hughes in the second and the third round against Estela Nunez was a willingness to pressure and to mix in her wrestling. And she had been telling the UFC crew that was announcing the fights that she had been working on her wrestling a lot and was planning on showing it off against Nunez. And she took a while to do it. It was very frustrating. It was just like when Corey McKenna didn't wrestle Elise Reed and just kind of voluntarily, decided to box with somebody that had a 4-inch reach advantage and was better on the feet. Sam was trying to work the striking early against Estela Nunez. That wasn't working. She made an adjustment, and that adjustment worked. The second round was close. I think Sam finished it on top and almost finished the fight because she had Estela Nunez in a crucifix. So if Sam has a good game plan here and pressures Elise Reed and chooses to wrestle and to make this a very dirty fight, I believe that this is at least a pick'em fight. However, Reed is a decent favorite right here because Sam Hughes hasn't shown a lot of wrestling thus far in the UFC. So we got Reed sitting here at -175. Oh, by the way, I got to put that banner up. So there we go. I'll be putting up the banners from all the fights, you guys. So Reed -175, Sam Hughes +150. So in this particular fight, I see that Reed has been taken down 4 times on 9 attempts and has spent 40% of her UFC career being controlled, and she doesn't go for takedowns. So Sam is somebody who, even though she's 1-3 in the UFC, she has outcontrolled her opponents at a 3-to-1 ratio thus far, getting 2 of her 8 takedowns and being taken down 7 of 12 times. So it's very interesting because Hughes has been taken down 5 more times than she's taken down her opponents, but she's out controlling her opponents at a 3-to-1 ratio. So she can win minutes on the cage, and if she chooses to go to the wrestling, she can win minutes on the ground too. And if she does those things, if she pressures Elise Reed, if she gets her to the cage, if she gets this fight to the ground, I think Sam Hughes should be at worst to pick him and maybe even a slight favorite here. So I'm going to pick Sam Hughes to win the upset here, because I'm not particularly impressed by Reed. I mean, just her striking is really good, but Sam comes from a striking background as well, and I don't think Elise is that much better than Sam on the feet. But I think Sam can win minutes on the cage, and I think she can win minutes on the ground if she brings that same game plan that Saif Sayoud had for her in the Nunez fight and executes it well. I'm going to think she's going to win this fight by decision, you guys. The next fight is going to be Chase Hooper versus Felipe Colares. Oh, God, you guys, I was up until like 3 a.m. taping this fight last night, and I was just talking to myself. I was like, you gotta be kidding me with these two guys. So Hooper, 6 years younger, 5 inches taller, and a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's a southpaw. So he's going to be much younger, much bigger here, but he's skinny. The experience is very much the same. Colares really doesn't fight. 13 fights in 9 years, so about a fight and a half a year. So even though Hooper has had a career that's been half as long, he's got as many fights as Felipe Colares. So Hooper is just much younger, much more active here. And they both have 5 UFC fights, so the experience is actually very much the same here. It's just since Hooper's been a lot more active, I'm going to give him the experience advantage because he chooses to fight. He fights like almost 3 times a year. Colares, 70% finish rate. Hooper, 80% finish rate. And these guys, 5 combined losses. Neither of them have ever been finished. When you look at the striking metrics for Hooper, they look good. He's landed more strikes than he's absorbed. He throws way more volume than his opponents. No knockdowns, and he has been knocked down twice in 5 fights. Chase Hooper's striking defense is deplorable. It's terrible. Excuse me, guys. Both of these guys actually suck. 36% striking defense for Hooper, 37% striking defense for Colares. So both of these guys have been knocked down a decent amount of times. For Colares, it's 2 times, and for Hooper, it's twice, and that's in 10 combined fights. So there's not much going on here in the striking. I mean, Colares should be better on the feet, but basically anybody should be better on the feet than Chase Hooper in the featherweight division. Chase doesn't really get his takedowns very well. He's only getting them at an 18% clip. Colares at a 22% clip. Colares' fights are taking place in control time positions 62% of the time. And for Chase Hooper, it's about 36% of the time, but it's actually more than that because his UFC debut in the Contender Series against Kanan Kawhi, there were no control time numbers, but that fight basically took place entirely on the ground. So the strength of schedule. So Colares has fought the better win-loss ratio competition, but it's Chase who's fought the more experienced guys. Neither of these guys really has signature wins. Chase has lost to the better competition, or no, I mean it's Felipe who's lost to the better win-loss competition, but Chase is losing to the more experienced guys. God damn, this fight. Colares is a black belt. I think Hooper is too. They're both not good in the striking. Both are really sloppy on the ground, give up position, get reversed a lot. Colares is stupid tough. You could hit this guy in the head with a baseball bat and he won't go down, but that doesn't matter because Chase Hooper couldn't knock out a woman's straw weight. So it's just a dumpster fire, you guys. So Colares is minus 180 on Bet Online. I wouldn't lay minus 180 on Felipe Colares ever. Is Chase Hooper the better submission grappler? He might be. He's the more tricky guy. He's the more unorthodox guy. So, this is not a fight that I'm going to be betting on. I actually think the fight goes to decision is a decent look for this particular fight, and I'll show you guys why. So between these two guys, 10 fights, only 2 of them have finished inside the distance at the UFC level. So that means 8 of 10 have went to decision. And that's 30% better than the implied probability of the line of this one going to decision, and 23% better than the divisional decision rate. And since neither one of these guys has ever been finished, I think the best bet for this fight is the fight goes to decision. As I don't really see either of these black belts submitting each other, and they're really not knocking anybody out except for with ground and pound. So, fight goes to decision, not a bad look for this particular fight. Fight goes sitting at plus 100 even money. And like I say, 8 of these guys, 10 combined UFC fights, have seen the scorecards. Neither one of them has ever been finished in the UFC. So fight goes to decision is probably my best bet for this particular fight. But as far as picking a side, you guys, I am going to stay away. And we got my guy F. Carrillo in the room with a donation. Thank you, F. Carrillo, saying the myth, the man, the legend. I love you, Uncle Weezy. Much love right back at you, brother. And my guy Dan Goldstein in the room with 5 New Zealand dollars, saying Uncle Weezy being stuck indoors researching Chase Hooper and Polyana, going insane like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, deserves my adoration and dono. And that's kind of like what it was. You guys can't see this, but it just says all work and no play makes Weezy a dull boy. Just over and over and over again. All these sheets, but this is what we got to do. This is what being a YouTube content creator for the UFC is. We got to put in the work. We got to stack these cash tickets like flapjacks. And this is the only way, man. We just got to put in the work. We got to show up every damn week, just like you do, and just like F. Carrillo does, and just like everybody else that donates. And all you guys that even don't donate, who cares, man? I love each and every one of you for your support and your attention to the channel. It means so much. And my guy DK saying flapjacks, baby, $10 for his Uncle Weezy. My man, thank you so much. John Smith saying, why was the over 2.5 at minus 130 at open? Well, over 2.5 happens 62% of the time. At this weight class, you guys. So it's a 145-pound fight. The under 2.5 happens 38.05% of the time. So that means the over 2.5 is 61.95% of the time. So at minus 130, it's a 56.52% implied probability. So it's actually fairly priced. But I think that a lot of people don't have access to these kind of statistics and have them all in one place like I do in my prop template when they are when they're breaking down these lines. They don't really, you look at a line, it's like minus 130. And oh yeah, that looks good. But when you can compare it against the benchmarks, against the finish and decision rates of the combined fighters, you can see it all in one place and be like, oh wow, that there is some value there. So yeah, that's how I look at that one, man. And those implied probabilities mean everything. Matter against the benchmarks of the division. And we got Prince of Mischief saying, your work is truly appreciated. I appreciate you. Sergio's a beaut saying, I like that. The Flapjacks. Me too, man. Adam Rush, ring a ding ding. Thanks for the great breakdowns, Uncle. Here's a drink on me. Oi, oi, oi. Let's go. All right, man. Appletinis this weekend, man. Oh, dude. Probably not, but man, I thought Amanda Ribas got it done, man. Amanda Ribas made me eat my words against Vieira Jandiroba, and so the Appletinis, I'm going to be staying away from them. Carrillo, I'll tell you that right now, man. All right, so let's go to the next fight, which is going to be Martinez against Morales. Now, we got a couple of Moraleses here. This is going to be Jonathan Martinez versus Vince Morales. Martinez coming in minus 220. Vince Morales on the comeback at plus 185. Fight doesn't go to decision, plus money at plus 155. So Jonathan the Dragon Martinez, 3 years younger, an inch taller, and they have the same reach. And Martinez is going to be a southpaw here against the orthodox in Morales. Factory X for Jonathan Martinez, Freak Jitsu for Vince Morales. Factory X is where Chris Gutierrez trains. Chris Gutierrez stole Vince Morales' soul. Jonathan Martinez has got the blueprint to beat Vince Morales, and he can get it from his own teammate, Chris Gutierrez. Martinez, 3 more fights, 90 more minutes in the pro cage, and about a year and a half more as a professional fighter. And he's got 2 more UFC level fights and about 50 more minutes in the UFC cage. In terms of finish rates, Martinez, a 60% finish rate, and Morales, a 73% finish rate. And both of these guys have finished 33% of their UFC wins by knockout. In terms of their losses, Morales has been finished in 3 of 5 losses, and Martinez has been finished in 1 of 4. When we look at the striking metrics for these two guys, we've got Jonathan Martinez landing 4.58 and absorbing 3.82 significant strikes a minute. Throws a little more volume than his opponents. 47% striking accuracy. Landing 5 knockdowns in 9 fights is really good. 0.61 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So the power numbers just edge Martinez just a little bit here, but both of these guys have nice power. But the metrics are all leaning just a little bit Martinez here, as Martinez got that +7 or 0.7 significant strike difference, while it's 0.3 for Morales. But Morales throws a lot more volume than his opponents, throwing 11.32, while his opponents are only throwing 9.32 significant strike attempts per minute. And both of these guys have been knocked down a decent amount. It's 2 times for Morales in 7 fights and 4 times for Martinez in 9 fights. Neither one of these guys really grapples. We got 0.37 takedowns per 15 minutes for Martinez and 0.19 for Morales. Morales 1.57% control time for and 6.02% control time against. So he's keeping his fights standing about 92% of the time, while for Martinez, it's about 79% of his UFC career has been spent at striking range. So Morales is very efficient in the grappling exchanges. He's attempted 8 takedowns. His opponents have attempted 26, but Martinez is out-controlling his opponents 12.63% to 8.8%. And Martinez, the takedown defense has been excellent lately. He's been taken down 7 times in his UFC career. 6 of those takedowns came in the first 2 fights, and in the last 7 fights, he's only been taken down once. So Morales, even though he's a former state champion wrestler, he doesn't use it at all. He is a boxer. He's a pure boxer. So we don't have to worry about Vince Morales wrestling anybody. In terms of the strength of schedule, it is Martinez who's fought the worst win-loss ratio competition by a mile, but has fought the slightly more experienced competition. And the wins for Martinez are a little bit better than Morales' wins. It's just Morales has been losing to the better competition here, while Martinez's losses have kind of come to subpar competition early in his career to Sukumta. And then I forget the other guy who beat him. Maybe it's in here. Oh, it was Davy Grant, and he got knocked out by Davy Grant, and that will happen because that dude hits like a truck. But with Martinez against Morales, we've got a kickboxer against a boxer. The kickboxer just has more weapons. The kickboxer is younger. He's a southpaw. He's a little bit taller. He's a little more experienced, and he's got the better striking metrics. Both of these guys have power. Both of these guys have been a little bit chinny. I do like Martinez to win this fight, though, and I like him to win it by decision, you guys. Next fight is going to be Omar Morales going up against Uros Medic. The fight doesn't go to decision here, juiced up at -200, and Morales is a -145 favorite. So then the second Morales, Omar Morales, the Venezuelan fighter, going to be the older man by 7 years here, and he's also going to be the smaller guy. He's going to be 2 inches shorter. It says Morales has a 73-inch reach and Medic has a 71-inch reach. Makes absolutely no sense. I have no doubt in my mind that Uros Medic's arms are way longer than Morales's. It's Medic who's a southpaw and Morales who's an orthodox fighter. King's MMA for Uros Medic. It's good to know that he's at one of these super camps getting a little bit better right now, as Omar Morales has been fighting at Sanford for a minute. Morales more experience, 5 more pro fights, about 60 more minutes in the pro cage, almost 5 more years as a pro, 3 more UFC level fights, and about 70 more minutes in the UFC cage. So while he is the smaller guy, he is going to be the more experienced guy here. It is going to be Medic who's the better finisher. Medic has finished all 7 of his wins inside the distance, and one of his losses has also come inside the distance. While for Morales, 63% of his wins coming inside the distance, and he's been subbed in one of his 2 losses. That was against the great Jonathan Pierce. In terms of the striking metrics here, Morales has done a nice job over his UFC career here, landing 3.4, absorbing 2.83, throwing about 1.2 more significant strike attempts per minute than his opponents do, showing some pretty good power here at 0.79% knockdown for total significant strikes landed, 0.4 knockdown for 15 minutes, and he's been knocked down only once in his 6 UFC fights, and that is 0.2 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. Now, Uros, we can't really, there's nothing much we can really do with these numbers. He shaved ass twice and then got beat by Jalen Turner. And there's no shame in that. But yeah, Medic is, landing at a 75% clip thus far. He's landing, it's 4 knockdowns in 3 fights for Uros Medic. 5.71 knockdowns for 15 minutes, 56% striking defense. He's never been knocked down. Medic has been taken down once, and he's been out-controlled 32% to 18%. And Morales has kept his fights standing about 75% of the time. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but he doesn't really wrestle. He's only attempted 3 takedowns in the UFC, and he's gotten all 3 of them, but he's only managed about 7.5 minutes of control time, maybe 8 minutes on those 3 takedown attempts and a lot of cage control time. 63% takedown defense for Morales. It's going to be Morales who's the better grappler here, but I don't know what that means, because for a guy that never shoots takedowns, it's going to be hard to see him actually using the grappling that he has. But Medic's takedown defense is not good. And, he's still new to this. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Morales decided to wrestle here and take the path of least resistance. But, that's something that we just haven't seen him do yet. So I don't think we can really count on it. And if this fight takes place at range, I think it's going to be a really closely contested kickboxing match. And both of these guys throw with a lot of power. And it's a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, which means that both of these guys' power kicks, especially those power kicks to the body that Omar Morales throws, are going to be open for business here. Uros Medic has never been over 1.5 rounds in his UFC or in his career, period, I believe. Let's look. Well, Medic, 8 professional fights. Let's see if he's ever seen the third round. Round one. He got Nathan Fitosa went to the second 51 seconds of round number 2, but this guy's never even been over 1.5 rounds. So we've got a killer be killed fighter here. And 16 of their 21 combined fights have finished inside the distance. And in the UFC level, it's 5 of 9. So that's 55.56%, but we're only paying at -170. But that's not right. It's actually sitting around -220 right now, I think. Well, fight doesn't go to decision at -200 on Bet Online. So we're overpaying by about 16% based on the divisional finish rate of 50%. And we're overpaying by about 11% based on the combined finish rates of the two fighters, 5 of 9. But with a killer be killed fighter who's never been over 1.5, maybe what we want to do is take the under 1.5, pay a little bit less juice, or the under 2.5 if we can get a good deal on it. But I like the under in this fight. I am gonna, I think Morales should win this fight. He should be able to win minutes on the feet and be able to win this, but I'm gonna lean Morales, but I do like the under in that fight. I'm kind of just staying away from it though, because I just haven't been really impressed by Morales yet. You go out there and you watch him, and he seems to be very one-dimensional. He doesn't, like in the Giga Chikadze fight, he never pressured that dude, and he never tried to take him. He got, I think, 1 takedown. I think it was on 1 or maybe even 2 attempts. It was a really dumbass game plan if you're fighting Giga Chikadze, especially 8-9 minutes into the fight when you, let's say you think that you're a better kickboxer than Giga, and you go out there and for 8-9 minutes you're getting picked apart and you're still not wrestling. It just shows that this guy, he's not smart. He's not a smart fighter. He's got big balls. He's going to try to hit you harder than he hits you. But against Uros Medic, I don't know if that's a really smart game plan. So I'll lean Morales. I think he's a little bit better everywhere. He's more experienced. He's fought and beaten the better brand of competition. But Uros is just a lot more dangerous. And I think that he goes out there and tries to finish fights instead of tries to point fight. So we'll see if Morales is able to get comfortable against him. But the under 1.5, the under 2.5, the fight doesn't go to decision. All good bets. But as far as picking a side, I'm going to be staying away. The pick will be Omar Morales by second round knockout, though. Next fight, Polyana, Dama de Ferro, Viana against Tabatha, the baby shark, Ricci. Okay, so let's go into the stats here, you guys. Hang on just a sec. Let me see if there's anything else I need to. Zero Miedo, my guy, saying, or maybe Uros uses the Jonathan Pierce game plan. I don't know if Uros has any wrestling at all. There's only one Jonathan Pierce. 0 takedown attempts for Uros Medic thus far in the UFC. I think he's going to try to get it done with his stand-up, but Morales looked like absolute garbage trying to wrestle. I'll tell you that. So, I don't know, man. Daz File saying, baby shark, get out the simp bets. Well, there are 2 ladies that are worth simping for here. Shark Week. Cute fight right here. Yeah, you got that, man. Everyone's favorite lady fight. Yeah, these 2 ladies are spectacular. And they're fun. Tabatha 2 years younger. Polyana much bigger. 4 inches taller, 6-inch reach advantage. Are both orthodox fighters. Polyana, 9 more professional fights and about 35 more minutes in the cage. And both of these ladies started their careers within a month of each other. It's just that Polyana has been a lot more active, and Tabatha Ricci has seemed to be in a lot of custom rules bouts and maybe some judo competitions in between the mixed martial arts fights. I see she's winning some fights via ippon, which is like full point in Japanese. It's how you win a judo match with a good throw or with a submission. So Yeah. So Tabatha, looks a lot less experienced, but she's been busy and she's been grappling and doing judo as well. But Viana, 9 more fights, 35 more minutes in the cage. And she's got 17 more minutes in the UFC cage, and 4 more UFC level fights. Tabatha finishing 50% of her fights. Polyana Viana finishing 100% of her 12 wins inside the distance. Tabatha has been finished in her only loss, although it was up at 125 by Manon Fiorot. And Polyana Viana has been finished in one of her 4 losses. It was by submission to Veronica Macedo. The striking numbers. So Ricci, they look terrible because she fought Manon, and Manon just pieced her up. But in the Maria Oliveira fight, she actually looked pretty good in the striking. Polyana landing about 0.7 more significant strikes per minute than she absorbs, and she's throwing over 2 more significant strike attempts per minute than her opponents do. Neither one of these ladies has landed a knockdown, and Polyana's been knocked down once, and Ricci's been knocked down once. In terms of the striking, Polyana should be able to win minutes on the feet, but I don't think that she's a lot more skilled than Tabatha, and even though she's long, she doesn't particularly use the length very well. And if she doesn't, that's going to be a problem because Tabatha will be pressuring, and just the general fight style that she has. She's got a judo black belt, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, and she's got a Muay Thai champion as well. So she's very well-rounded. And I've seen her look pretty good in the striking, looks serviceable. And she's seen better than Polyana Viana in the striking, having fought Manon Fiorot. So I don't think Polyana is going to bring anything in the striking that she hasn't seen before. And Tabatha being the one more likely to pressure, I think is going to work very well for her in this spot. Now, Viana has as many takedowns as her opponents do, but she's got 9.5% control time, and she's allowing about 39% control time. While we see Ricci here, almost 30% control time, allowing only 3%. Manon did take her down, but she got right back up. So Ricci should be the better wrestler and the better minute winner because Polyana plays off her back. She's looking to submit you. If you take her down, she's going to be throwing those legs up and looking for arm bars. It's her signature submission. And Tabatha Ricci being a black belt in judo, black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, having trained with Mackenzie Dern and Vanessa Demopoulos, I think that she's going to, be ready for what Polyana brings. I like Tabatha's pressure. I like her toughness. I like the fact that when she walks forward, she uses her striking to set up her takedown attempts, and Polyana does not have good takedown defense. So I think Tabatha can keep it very close on the feet. And I also think that on the ground, Tabatha is going to be the more likely one to win minutes with cage control, with wrestling, and with top control. And as long as she, avoids the submission by Polyana, she should be okay. The strength of schedule, there's not much to talk about here. Tabatha has lost to Manon Fiorot and beaten Maria Oliveira. So Polyana Viana is somewhere in between. And Polyana has been in there with some decent opponents. She lost to J.J. Aldrich. She lost to Hannah Cyphers. She lost to Veronica Macedo. And she won via submission to Emily Whitmire and to Mallory Martin. And, we see that before Ricci was in the UFC, wins over Shauna Ormsby, Vanessa Grimes, Kelsey Arneson. So it's Viana who's definitely fought the better brand of competition over her career. Viana is going to be bigger, and the grappling is going to be very close, and the striking is going to be very close. So there's some things to like about both fighters here. Stylistically, I like Ricci's pressure, aggressiveness, toughness. Viana, I like the length. I like when she uses her length to maintain distance in the striking. I just wish she would do more of that. I think Tabatha Ricci is going to win this fight. I think she'll be able to stay safe on the ground. I think she'll be able to win minutes on the cage and on the ground with her wrestling. And I think that on the feet, it'll be very close. Both of these ladies, pretty good finishers, but Viana's been pretty durable at the UFC level, really only getting submitted, and that was by Macedo. So, I think I'm going to pick Tabatha Ricci to win this one by decision, you guys. And then there's this fight. Oh my God. Ugly Man Joseph Holmes up against Alen Amedovski, who I don't even know what year it was the last time Alen Amedovski fight. Let's have a look, actually. See, like, this is the kind of fight you just really can't be confident either way. There's very little tape on Amedovski because this guy knocked out everybody in the first round. But I'm not even looking at the right place. Let's look at Amedovski here. Oh yeah, no, I am looking in the right place. I just want to know. The last fight was 2019. My God, all of 2020 to all of 2021, half of 22 off. So it's been about 2.5 years since we've seen Alen Amedovski go out there and get starched in 17 seconds by John Phillips, showing that this guy has no game plan and no well-rounded mixed martial arts game. If you are out there willing to stand and bang with John Phillips, it probably means you've never put on a singlet in your life, because the dude folds like a lawn chair and he never gets back up. So Amedovski, not smart, and he lasted 3 rounds with Krzysztof Jotko, but Krzysztof Jotko couldn't finish an 8-ounce glass of water. So what do we know about him? Nothing. Really nothing. We know he's starched a bunch of cashiers and cab drivers on the regional scene. He did beat Will Fleury, knocked out Will Fleury. That's a good win. And then he knocked out Ibrahim Mané in like 10 seconds. And then he comes to the UFC and gets blanketed by Jotko for 3 rounds and then gets slept by John Phillips in 12 seconds. Joe Holmes is new to mixed martial arts. He's only been a pro for 3 years. He's got 9 fights. He's only 26 years old. But he's the much, much, much bigger dude. He's going to be the way better grappler because, Amedovski's just got nothing on the ground. And we see that Amedovski's got 0% takedown defense. He's never attempted a takedown. He's been knocked down once in 2 fights, and he's never landed a knockdown, and his striking accuracy is 28.57%. Now, we can't look too much into these numbers because he got blanketed by Jotko for 3 rounds and then got knocked out, like I said, in 12 seconds. So Amedovski's a power puncher. He's going to throw big hooks. If one of them lands, you're probably going to Dream Street. Holmes should be able to keep the distance. This is an orthodox versus orthodox fight, and when Holmes looked his worst on the feet was when he was fighting southpaw. So I like the fact that Amedovski is an orthodox fighter. It'll allow Holmes to be able to use his jab to set up his other strikes, and when he does that, he's at his best. But laying minus 200 on Ugly Man Joe here is just not an option for me. I think the under 1.5 is a great bet here. Amedovski, I believe, has never seen a 3rd round outside of the Jotko fight. And, and those are the kind of things you have to look for because, like, Jotko, like we say, he would take a squirrel to decision. So we see this guy has been to round 2 a couple times here, 357, 306 of round 2, round 1. All these other fights are round 1 finishes. So if Amedovski's really only been over 1.5 twice in his career, and they were against a 3-0 fighter and an 0-0 fighter, oh my God, what is he doing here? These wins in Bellator were great. The Fleury win, the Ibrahim Mané win, back-to-back, first-round knockouts. And then that got him in the UFC, and then we found out that he, once it goes past a minute, he really has nothing. So, I've got to pick Joe Holmes to win this fight. And I think inside the distance is a good possibility here, but I don't know if he can finish a guy. This would be the best win of Holmes's career if he beat Amedovski, because these guys that he's beating, Pati, Shante Barnes, Dwayne Diggs, 3-2, 0-1, a 4-1 Ryan Leininger, 6-8 Tyler Jones, 1-1 Kona Oliveira, and then a loss to Jordan Newman, who's also making his debut. So Yeah, I look. It appears that Joe Holmes is the better mixed martial artist. He trains with better guys over at Glory. He's actually got a grappling game. So, I think maybe Joseph Holmes by submission, second round, first round, probably the way to go. Fight doesn't go to decision at minus 240 is a parlay piece because we've never seen Amedovski even see a third round. So under 2.5, fight doesn't go. Good bets for this particular fight, but other than that, I don't think either one of these guys can be trusted, and I wouldn't be laying anything on the money line. If you're on the Amedovski side, maybe look at what the first round knockout is, because if he doesn't get a first round knockout, he's not winning this fight. So you could take that if you like for a little stab at some lunch money or something like that. But other than that, I'm going to pick Joe Holmes to win this by second round submission, but I won't be betting either side. And up next, we got the GOAT, you guys, Parker Porter, plus 450, checking in against Maladino. Jailton Almeida, who is coming in at minus 600. So Jailton is a light heavyweight who was supposed to fight Maxim Grishin. Would have been a great fight. But Grishin had to pull out with an injury. And I don't have any evidence of this, but I think what happened was they called up a lot of 205 pounders who said, I am not fighting Jailton Almeida. So then they wound up going to the heavyweights, finding the ones that didn't have fights and said, does anybody want to fight this guy? And Parker Porter raised his hand. So Parker Porter, 7 years older than Jailton here. Is Jailton going to be younger, 3 inches taller, and with a 4-inch reach advantage? Jailton almost as many professional fights as Parker Porter, but about 50 less minutes in the cage. And that's because a 4.38 minute average fight time for Jailton, a 6.79 minute average fight time for Parker Porter. So it's been about 5 more years as a pro for Parker Porter. So Parker's been very inactive, 15-year career almost, and only 19 fights. He's got more UFC experience, 40 more minutes in the UFC cage, and 2 more fights. When we look at the finish rates, Jailton, a 100% finish rate, 61% finish rate for Porter. And Porter's been finished in, I believe, all 6 of his losses, but it shows 5 here because I believe one of the losses is a DQ. And then Almeida has been knocked out in one of his 2 losses. So Porter throwing a lot of volume. Landing 6.77, absorbing 6.53. No knockdowns. He's been knocked down twice. Jailton landing 3.28 and only absorbing 0.72 significant strikes a minute, showing 12.5% striking. Defense is not good, but he's winning a lot of minutes on the ground. So we see Jailton's fights here, 63.82% control time for, 22.87% control time against. So about 14% of his fights take place at striking range. So if you're not willing to grapple, you're going to have a real hard time in a Jailton Almeida fight. Porter has gotten 5 of his 20 takedowns. He's never had a takedown shot on him, so we don't really know what his takedown defense is going to look like. But just trying to get your hands clasped behind that gigantic ass of his means you're probably going to at least need to have an 83-inch reach. It's an interesting stylistic fight. Now, the line is completely out of hand, and I don't believe that Jailton Almeida is parlayable or even bettable at minus 600. And I'm not going to be like shopping for sub props and knockout props. It's not something I'm interested in doing when we got a minus 600 favorite. What I have seen from Jailton is that he can get a little sloppy on top. He can get reversed. And what I've seen from Parker Porter is once this dude gets on top of you, you're not getting him off. It's just he's too big. He's got too big of an ass. His legs are like goddamn tree trunks. So Jailton needs to be very careful about how he attempts submissions here, because if he's submission over position and winds up getting reversed, he could be in trouble here, and he could have a very hard time getting that fat ass off of him. The pick has got to be Jailton Almeida. It's got to be by first round submission. But honestly, you guys, I think I'm going to be betting Parker Porter to win by decision. Parker is very big. He's probably going to be the better boxer, actually, even though Jailton's a pretty good kickboxer and has a little bit of a boxing background. The fact that he never uses it is kind of a tell that he's not confident in it. So Parker Porter by decision at plus 1,600, I think, or at plus 1,400, I think, is something I might take a look at because, he could win minutes on the feet. And like I say, he's going up a weight class, and this is, 60 pounds. It's a big deal. And, I think Parker's the kind of guy who actually does cut to make 265 because he's so big. So, yeah, I'm picking Jailton. He should absolutely win this fight. But, man, Parker Porter's a big dude. And it could get interesting if Parker gets on top of him because, it's just a lot of weight to get off of you. And we do know that Parker, when he is getting on top, he's managing 27% control time for and only 3% control time against. So if he can win minutes on the ground here and take Jailton to the second round, we might see Jailton gas out and have some problems here. And we could see Parker Porter win minutes on the feet. So, yeah, it's a little bit sketchier than the minus 600 line that they're telling us right now. I'm still picking Jailton. He should get this done. But I am not counting out Parker Porter in this position, and I might even throw a quarter unit on him by decision here. But let's move on to the next fight because that one's kind of lopsided. This one, not as much, but Chidi Njokuani is on an absolute heater right now. And if you don't have a long memory, this line makes sense, minus 235. But Dusko's 6 years younger. It's going to be Chidi, who's 2 inches taller and has a 6-inch reach advantage here. So Chidi much, much bigger, Dusko much younger. It's Chidi with the experience. 29 fights to Dusko's 13. About 170 more minutes in the cage and about 8 more years as a pro. It's Dusko, though, who's got about 36 more minutes in the UFC cage and 3 more fights. Njokuani, 67% finish rate. He's finished 14 of his 21 wins inside the distance. Dusko Todorovic, 91% finish rate, finishing 10 of 11 wins inside the distance. So 14 and 10 is 24 of 32 of their wins. So 75% combined finish rate for these guys in their wins. Chidi, though, has been finished in 6 of 7 losses, a huge red flag. And Todorovic has been finished in 1 of 2 losses. So, like I say, with Chidi, if you have a short memory and you're looking at the UFC stuff, you're like, damn, this kid looks good. But there's a lot of instances, seven career losses, and 6 of them inside the distance where you're like, Chidi, man, you look like you gave up there. And, it just kind of looked like there was something going on with him. Like he didn't want to be there or his heart wasn't in it. But he looks focused now because you look at these numbers, 6.41 landed, 1.27 absorbed, throwing 3.5 more significant strike attempts, 86% striking accuracy, 2 knockdowns in 2 fights. Todorovic landing almost 1 more significant strike per minute than he absorbs, 54% striking accuracy, 50% striking defense. He's got tall man striking defense. His hands are down, his head is up, and he uses his head movement to try to get out of the way of punches. Against Chidi, that's not going to work well. He's going to have to grapple Chidi. He's going to have to get Chidi on the ground and win minutes there. And unfortunately, Dusko can't really get takedowns. 2 of 21 on takedowns, 16% control time, 4 or 5% control time against, only showing 50% takedown defense. But when he's gotten fights to the ground against Maki Pitolo, against Daquan Townsend, he's finished the fights. That's where he wins his fights, is when he gets you to the ground. But on the feet, he just eats too many shots. He's got a good shin. It's just that he, with the hands down and the constant head movement, eventually he's going to eat a big shot. And against Chidi, that's a really bad recipe because that dude hits really hard. And we also know that he might not be overmatched here on the ground, as we saw Chidi look really good now that he's got his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. In his fight against Mario Sosa, looked fantastic on the ground, finished it with ground and pound. So Chidi's looking really good here. He's more experienced. He's bigger. He's definitely the better striker. And while Todorovic might be the better grappler, his ability to be able to get fights to the ground has not been good enough, in my opinion, to worry too much about it. In terms of the strength of schedule, it looks better here for Njokuani, but it is better for Njokuani because he's been fighting high-level competition, fought a lot of UFC veterans before he even got here. So the pick here is going to be Chidi Njokuani. I'm going to pick him to win by second-round knockout, but I think it's going to be a good fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing Dusko maybe try to take that next step here. Next fight, though, Eryk, your boy Anders against the Iron Turtle, Jun-Yong Park. Oh, we got a lot of comments in here. Let me see if I'm missing anything. Oh, we got my guy Chris Colares in the room saying, "What up, Uncle Hefner?" Let me see here. Wait, did I get a donation from somebody? It looks like I did. Oh my God, you guys have been killing it in the absolute chat here. And my guy, a stubborn Mick, in here saying Holmes submission. Holmes now getting the layup that Amedovski had multiple chances to get. Keep stacking like flapjacks. Let's go, a stubborn Mick. Thank you so much for the donation. It means a lot, my man. Keeping the lights on here at Uncle Weezy's house. Much love to you. I've been talking to this man on Twitter. He is a sharp guy, Kelly. Yeah, all right. So we're doing your boy against the Iron Turtle here. It is the Iron Turtle, who's 4 years younger, but Anders is going to be the bigger dude here. 3 inches taller, 2 inches of reach. He's a southpaw as well compared to Jun-Yong Park, an orthodox fighter. Fight ready for Eryk Anders, Korean top team for Jun-Yong Park. We've got 4 more professional fights for Anders and about 50 more minutes in the pro cage, but it's Jun-Yong who's actually got a longer career. So Eryk has been very active, fighting about 3 times a year, while for Jun-Yong it's been about 2 times a year. But Anders with much more UFC level experience, 8 more UFC fights, about 90 more minutes in the UFC cage. Let's see here. So we've got on the finish stats, Eryk Anders, 64% finish rate. Park, 61% finish rate. And Park has been finished in both of his UFC losses and in 3 of his 5 pro losses, while for Anders, he's been finished twice in 6 losses, once by knockout and once by submission. Anders not with great striking ratios here, as he absorbs about 0.8 more significant strikes per minute than he lands. Really good power, though. Landing 6 knockdowns in 13 fights, 0.57 knockdowns per 15 minutes on 47% accuracy. Now, Park is landing 4.69 and absorbing 3.83. So he's landing almost 1 more significant strike per minute than he absorbs, and he's also throwing more volume. So it looks like Park will have the volume advantage, the accuracy advantage, the boxing advantage here. But it's going to be Anders who's going to be the bigger, more powerful striker here, the more likely guy to land a big shot that changes the trajectory of the fight. Jun-Yong Park, known for his durability. He's never been knocked down, although he has been knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez. And Eryk Anders has been knocked down 4 times in 13 fights. So he has seen that chin get cracked a few times. In the grappling, Jun-Yong Park done a really nice job with his wrestling, getting his takedowns at a 58% clip, averaging 2.62 takedowns for 15 minutes, and out-controlling his opponents by 20%, 33.75% to 13.6%. While Anders is also out-controlling his opponents by about the same ratio here, 24% to 9%. So it's Anders who's showing 74% takedown defense here, while Jun-Yong Park is showing 47% takedown defense. If we look at these stats, we see that Anders has fought and beaten the better brand of competition here, although neither one of these guys has really impressive wins thus far. And in the losses, it's Anders who's losing the better competition as well. So Jun-Yong Park's the better boxer. He's younger, but it's Anders who's going to be bigger, more experienced, more UFC experience, more powerful. So it kind of comes down to the grappling for me. And I think we got some important stats here in the advanced stats, you guys. So I'm going to take you over there. And if we go up here and we find the numbers on Anders and Jun-Yong Park, I'm going to highlight some interesting numbers here on Jun-Yong Park. So Jun-Yong Park's had 5 fights in the UFC. He beat Njokuani, he beat Phillips, and he beat Barrio. None of those guys are takedown artists at all. The fights that he lost were to Rodriguez and to Anthony Hernandez, okay? So notice here in the control time numbers and the control time allowed numbers. In the Rodriguez fight, he was out-controlled by 170 seconds. In the Hernandez fight, he was out-controlled by about 240 seconds. And in the 3 wins against Njokuani, Phillips, and Barrio, he's out-controlling his opponents 229-34, 791-0 in the Phillips fight, and 208-7 in the Barrio fight. So we see the Iron Turtle in his 3 fights that he's won is 11 of 19 on his takedowns. So he's getting takedowns and out-controlling his opponents in the fights that he's winning. In the fights that he's losing, he's getting out-controlled and he's getting taken down. 2 of 4 takedowns here for Rodriguez, 6 of 9 takedowns here for Hernandez. So we see that in his losses, his opponents are 8 of 13 on takedown attempts. So there's a tale of 2 Jun-Yong Parks here. The Park that gets out-controlled and loses, and the Park that out-controls his opponents and wins. The thing about Eryk Anders is it's going to be very hard to take that dude down and control him. He's a huge man, and he's a much better athlete. And we see here, look at these control time numbers here for Eryk Anders over his career. 472, 227, 353, 351, 155, 499. He's out-controlling his opponents quite a bit of the time. In the 2 Stewart fights, he out-controls them by a lot. He out-controls Jotko by about 300 seconds here, but still finds a way to lose. Out-controls Mearshart. He gets out-controlled by 30 seconds here. He gets out-controlled by like 20 seconds in some fights, but he's winning these fights that he's out-controlling his opponents unless he gets clipped at the end. So I think that this is a surprisingly good matchup for Eryk Anders here. He's going to be more powerful. He's going to be bigger. He wins a lot of minutes on the cage. And Jun-Yong Park's a former welterweight, while Eryk Anders was just fighting up at 205. So I think the size and the game planning of Anders gives him a wide open door to win this fight, frankly. So I think that this is Eryk Anders, you guys. I think he's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win it by decision by racking up a bunch of cage control and ground control, and then keeping the striking exchanges close. I think he can get outboxed and outvolumed on the feet by Jun-Yong Park, but even if that's happening, I think he can change the trajectory of the fight by shooting in for a takedown, getting the fight up against the fence, or even landing a big shot of his own, because he's going to be the guy that has way more power here. So I'm picking Eryk Anders, a big underdog here to win this fight by decision, you guys. Next fight, and we've got Santiago Ponzinibbio going up against Michel Pereira. So if you look at the description of this video, you can find all the stats that we're looking at here today. Download them for free. Help you make some better gambling decisions, courtesy of your Uncle Weezy. And if you also look in the description of this video, you're going to see a balls deep breakdown that I did on the MMA Engine YouTube channel here. That was done last night, and I broke down this fight in detail on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. So go check that out if you want a further in-depth look here. It is going to be Michel Pereira, who is 7 years younger, 1 inch taller, and the reach is identical. So Pereira is younger and bigger here. Fighting out of Scorpion Fighting Systems is Pereira, and Ponzinibbio out of ATT. So Pereira, 7 more pro fights, despite the fact he's 7 years younger. It's Ponzinibbio with about 40 more minutes of cage time and about 3.5 more years as a pro, though. So Ponzinibbio is the more experienced fighter because he's fought 7 more times at the UFC level, 50 more minutes in the UFC cage, about 3.5 more years as a pro. It's just Pereira's got 7 more pro fights. When we look at the finish rates, we've got a 75% finish rate for Santiago Ponzinibbio and 50% at the UFC level, while Pereira's got a 40% finish rate at the UFC level, and overall, he's got a 63% finish rate. Ponzinibbio finished in 3 of 5 pro losses. Pereira, very durable, only been finished in 2 of 11 losses. And one of those losses was against Dusko Todorovic inside the distance up at 185 pounds. All right. Ponzinibbio, landing 0.25 more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs, throwing about the same amount of volume as his opponents, 40% striking accuracy, and 1.28% knockdowns for total significant strikes landed. So he's landing almost a knockdown per 15 minutes. And Ponzinibbio, I believe he's landed 9 knockdowns in 14 fights. So just an absolute ton of power. Really good striking defense here at about 62%. And he's been knocked down 3 times. So 9 knockdowns for, only 3 knockdowns against. Very impressive for Santiago. Pereira has got great striking ratios here as he throws about a half more strike per minute than his opponents do. And he's landing about 1.5 more significant strikes per minute than his opponents do. 55% striking accuracy, much more accurate than Ponzinibbio, but a lot less powerful, about a third of the power numbers that Ponzinibbio has. But he's never been knocked down. Pereira's been really good, you guys, at managing to win minutes on the ground. Now, he's not even out-controlling his opponents, which is kind of strange, right? 11 takedowns for, 0 takedowns against. He's showing 100% takedown defense. Ponzinibbio has only shot 15 takedowns in 14 fights and gotten 5 of them, averaging 5% control time for. So it's pretty safe to say that this fight should take place on the feet. Ponzinibbio, although he's been taken down 11 times, he's only been controlled for 7% of his UFC career. So that would be about 8 or 9 minutes on 28 takedown attempts. So even if Pereira does try to take him down, he probably is not taking him down. And even if he gets him down, it's probably going to pop right back up to the feet. So in my opinion, we got to figure out who's going to win the striking exchanges in this fight. The strength of schedule is pretty much all Ponzinibbio here, as he's fighting the better brand of competition and more experienced competition, beating the better brand and more experienced competition, and losing to the better brand of competition, while Pereira is losing to the more experienced competition, but that's kind of skewed because there's a loss in there against Diego Sanchez for an illegal knee where he was destroying that dude, and the fight probably should have been stopped up to that point, but he just pulled a John Jones against Matt Hamill and just tried to get him out of there and got disqualified. So Ponzinibbio is a very good striker, a very, very good striker. Pereira is going to be trying to skirt around the outside of the cage, and Ponzinibbio is going to be walking this dude down. Pereira needs space to operate. I don't think Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to give him that space. And Pereira has been excellent at winning minutes on the ground. I mentioned this to you guys. Check this out. These are the takedown numbers from Michel Pereira. So in the first fight, 0 of 0. That was the knockout win against Danny Roberts. Then he's 2 of 5, 2 of 2, 1 of 1, 2 of 2, 3 of 6, and 1 of 4. He's gotten a takedown in every damn fight. And every time he shoots for a takedown, he's gonna, you know, every fight that he has shot for a takedown, he's gotten one. And, you know, he's been good on defense. As you see, he stopped 2 takedowns here, 6 takedowns here, 6 takedowns there. So he's 0 of 14. His opponents are 0 of 14 on their takedown attempts. So he's done a good job of that. You know, 1 takedown, 44 seconds of control time. 3 takedowns, 167 seconds of control time. 2 takedowns, 81 seconds. 1 takedown, 11 seconds. 2 takedowns, 49 seconds. 2 takedowns, 183 seconds. So he's done a good job of getting those takedowns and winning some minutes with them, but it's not a lot of minutes. But in the Chaos Williams fight in particular, it was a very close fight. 44 for Pereira, 55 for Chaos, but he got takedowns at the end of each round, and it was probably enough to sway the judges because I thought Chaos won 2 rounds there. So, I think he can maybe win some seconds here with the wrestling, but I think it's going to be very difficult against Santiago. And I think this is going to be a striking match. And I think the guy that shows the flashier strikes is going to be Pereira. But with Ponzinibbio marching him down, throwing low leg kicks and throwing those punches in combination, I think that he's going to do enough to win this fight and win it by decision. So I'm picking Santiago Ponzinibbio to win this fight by decision, you guys. The line at plus 105 is not a bad look here. But Pereira's been a really good minute winner, and he's fighting very, very smart these days, done a much better job of maintaining his gas tank, not doing all these dumb, flashy strikes, not doing crazy dance routines before the fight. So now that Pereira seems a lot more interested in winning, he's been fighting very smart, and that's been translating the wins in the UFC. But he's going up against the guy here in Ponzinibbio who's been in there with Magny, with Perry, with Gunnar Nelson, with Zach Cummings, Court McGee, Lorenz Larkin, Sean Strickland, Li Jing Liang, Jeff Neal. He's just seen a much better brand of competition, I believe, than Pereira has. And I think that his striking is a notch better than Pereira's. Pereira's is more eye-catching, but in terms of getting the job done at the UFC level, bringing power, bringing volume, bringing pressure, accuracy, and the chin in order to absorb the strikes that your opponents are throwing back, I think Ponzinibbio is going to get the job done and get it done by decision. Last fight, you guys. We've made it to the main event, an hour and 20 minutes in. Going to be a little bit of an abbreviated version. Not the best fight card, only 11 fights. But the main event, the return of Holm coming up against Ketlen Vieira. Holm is 40 years old here and is a minus. So Ketlen, 10 years younger. They are the same height. Holm with a 1-inch reach advantage. She's a southpaw. Ketlen is an orthodox. Fighting out of Nova União for Ketlen Vieira, and it's Jackson Wink for Holm. Holm is more experienced, 5 more pro fights, 130 more minutes in the pro cage, and about 3.5 more years as a pro, 4 more UFC level fights, and about 90 more minutes in the UFC cage. Holm finishing 57% of her wins by knockout. Ketlen Vieira with a 50% finish rate overall, 33% by sub, 17% by knockout. Holly has finished 2 of her 7 UFC wins, and Ketlen has finished 1 of her 6 UFC wins. So 3 out of 13 combined wins inside the distance for these ladies. And Holly's been finished twice at the UFC level, once by knockout, once by submission. And Ketlen Vieira has been finished once by knockout. That was by Irene Aldana, who Holm dominated from pillar to post for 5 rounds. Striking stats. So Holly's got fantastic striking. She's landing 3.16, absorbing 2.8, throwing about 1.7 more significant strike attempts per minute than her opponents, 2 knockdowns in 12 fights, 0.15 knockdowns for 15 minutes, and 58% striking accuracy, and she's only been knocked down once in 12 fights. And that's what with being in the cage with, just absolute Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, Jermaine Durandamy. It's just really been a murderer's row for her entire career. Holm has fought everybody. Ketlen, 38% striking accuracy, hasn't knocked anyone down yet. Absorbing 1 more significant strike per minute than she lands. That's a big red flag against somebody as efficient on the feet as Holm. Ketlen's done a great job getting fights to the ground. She's out-controlling her opponents at about a 3.5 to 1 ratio, 34.5% to 10%, while Holm is out-controlling her opponents 18.9% to 5.3%. 77% takedown defense for Holm. The thing about a 5-round fight is it's very difficult to push a wrestling-heavy game plan for that long. And Holly has really improved her takedown defense since she's gotten to the UFC. If we look at her takedown defense, these are all of her fights, right? And we can see early in the career, she's getting taken down a couple times here, but, since Well, she's really not facing a lot of takedown attempts either, which is interesting. In the last 7 fights, she's only seen 4 takedown attempts against. So she's probably going to see a more wrestling-heavy game plan than she's been used to seeing. But even in the fights that she's getting taken down, which are these 3 fights here, let's see what her record is in those fights. 1-2. So she got taken down once by Pennington, and then she lost the fights where she was getting taken down by Shevchenko and Miesha Tate. So it's been a long time. That was 2016. Ever since then, you see Holly Holm out-controlling her opponents by huge amounts here. I mean, she's done a very good job of not losing minutes on the ground to everybody except for Valentina Shevchenko and Miesha Tate. So let's get back to the numbers here. So Ketlen is going to have to try to get this fight to the ground. But if she's unsuccessful winning minutes there or getting the fight to the ground, she might get finished late in this fight because pushing a wrestling-heavy game plan is exhausting. Ketlen Vieira has never been known for her conditioning, and I kind of feel like if this fight takes place on the feet, I don't see Ketlen winning any minutes. I just don't. Holly's too good. She's just too smart. She doesn't make mistakes, and she's durable and tough. And the other thing about Holly Holm is, we'll look over here at the strength of schedule. I mean, she's just fighting the much better brand of competition. 2.32 ratio for Holmes competition, 1.14 for Vieira, 10.25 total fights for Holmes competition, 7.5 for Ketlen. 1.88 ratio in the wins for Holm, 1.14 for Ketlen. 3.25 ratio in the losses for Holm, 1.14 for Ketlen. The names: Cyborg, Megan Anderson, Amanda Nunez, Raquel Pennington, Irene Aldana, while the names for Ketlen: Miesha Tate, Yana Kunitskaya, Sajara Eubanks, Irene Aldana, and Kat Zingano. And Ketlen Vieira got knocked out in the first round by Irene Aldana, while Holly Holm absolutely dominated Irene Aldana. So Holm trains at elevation. Her conditioning is impeccable. Her cage control is excellent. Her wrestling offense and defense is good. And she's shown the minutes, the ability to be able to win minutes on the ground. The question is, if Ketlen comes in here wrestling, will she have success? And can she have success wrestling and then also bring the game plan to go that full 5 rounds, should this fight go the full 25, without gassing out, without succumbing to a head kick by Holly Holm? And the lefty versus righty could be a problem for Ketlen as well. When I watch the tape, I see Ketlen winning minutes in the grappling, but having a hard time winning minutes in the striking against anybody not named Miesha Tate in 2022. So I'm picking Holly Holm to win this fight, and I'm picking her to win by decision. And my cat is doing the same thing, it looks like here. I think Mushroom's on point here, saying, Holmes' volume and constant touching could lead to a late finish, 4-5 decision, and also a great look. And I'm waiting for that line to come out. That's a bet that I'm going to be making. But the Holly Holm by 4-5 decision is something I'd like to get better than -150 for this week. If I can get that, I'd be very happy, and I would be betting that. Papa Chuck saying, Weezy, is your cat in heat? No, she's not. She's like 18 years old, and she's got dementia, and she just does that all the time. So she just yells a lot. But anyway, you guys, the pick is going to be Holly Holm by decision, and that means we have made it through all 11 fights. So let's get you guys a greasy 4-leg parlay here. Now, there's some spots that I like, and we'll go back to the very beginning here. The Reed Hughes fight, I like Hughes as an underdog, but I'm not putting an underdog in a parlay. Hooper Colares, I do like the fight goes to decision and the over 2.5 here, but I'm not putting that in there either. Jonathan Martinez versus Vince Morales. The younger, bigger kickboxer versus the boxer who doesn't wrestle. I'm going to be going with Jonathan Martinez to win this fight, so I'm going to put that in the parlay. We're going to do the Jonathan Martinez money line. Morales Medic, I like the fight doesn't go to decision here, but I'm not putting anything from this in the parlay. The Baby Shark against Polyana Viana. I think that the Baby Shark is going to be more aggressive and have a great opportunity to use her wrestling, cage control, and top control in order to win minutes in this fight. I kind of see Polyana Viana as sub or bust, and I don't think she's subbing a girl that's a black belt in judo, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and who trains with Mackenzie Dern, one of the best submission artists on the planet Earth. So we're going to put the Tabatha Ricci money line also in this parlay. Holmes Amedovski. So while I think that this fight absolutely finishes inside the distance, I don't really have a strong lean either way. Alen Amedovski has never seen a third round in a win, and the only time he ever saw a third round in a loss was against Krzysztof Jotko, who's the opposite of a finisher. So we're going to make the third leg of this parlay the under 2.5, if we can find it, or the fight doesn't go to decision if you don't have access to an under 2.5 for Joseph Holmes, Alen Amedovski. I'm not giving you anything for Porter Almeida. I'm not giving you anything for Njokuani Todorovic. Not giving you anything for Andres Park. Not giving you anything for Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Pereira. The last leg of the Greasy four-legger is going to be the Holly Holm money line. So Holly Holm's money line, let's see what we can find here on the parlay calculator. So parlay, and we're going to do the Holly Holm money line. We'll do this at DraftKings. The Tabatha Ricci money line, the Jonathan Martinez money line, and then the under 2.5 in Holmes Amedovski. So we're seeing it at like minus 200 here. Let's say we get it at that. That four-leg parlay is going to pay plus 447. So not nearly as greasy as last weekend, but I really like all four of these picks, and I think this one has a really good chance to cash. So plus 447. Tabatha Ricci money line, Holly Holm money line, Jonathan Martinez money line, and the under 2.5 in the Holmes Amedovski fight. That is your greasy four-legger for the week. And then we are going to go to the last thing that we always do on here on Just a Tip with Uncle Weezy, and that is, of course, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one because I don't want to be giving you, like, I think Joseph Holmes should beat Amedovski, but I'm not putting my ass shaving on such an untested guy when I did it last week with Torres against Camacho, but the reason I did it was because I felt like Camacho was an entirely known commodity and that there was nothing dangerous about his game. But Amedovski is a known commodity, but he hits like a truck. So that's why I like the under 2.5 in that fight, because I think if he doesn't land a big shot, Holmes is going to take him down and submit him fairly easily. So I like the under 2.5 there, but I don't think it's an ass shaving pick. In terms of, Ricci, nah. Jailton Almeida, yeah, I could give you a minus 600 ass shaving, but that doesn't do you much good. I'm gonna level with you guys. I had it down to two names. The two names were Jonathan Martinez and Holly Holm. And while I feel that Ketlen Vieira is a higher level opponent in comparison to Holm than what Morales is in comparison to Martinez, I think Holly Holm is just an absolutely fantastic minute winner, and just a really smart fighter with almost no holes in her game. So she's 40 years old. We haven't seen her in a year and a half. But those are narrative things. Everything that I saw on tape, everything that I saw in the numbers, the only women who have beaten Holly Holm in mixed martial arts wore gold around their waist, and two of them were at 145 pounds. I don't see Ketlen Vieira being able to wrestle long enough in this fight to win enough minutes to win a decision here. She's not getting Holly Holm out of there. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week this week is going to be Holly Holm to shave the ass of the Lorenzo Lamas from Renegade lookalike here of Ketlen Vieira, you guys. We did it. An hour and 35 minutes, over 80 of you guys hanging out in here with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. Thank each and every one of you guys for spending your Tuesday night with me. God bless each and every one of you. You can find me tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with DFS by the Numbers, with Monk Maddox, and with the new guy that we got going, Gordo Gambles. You can find me on Thursday on the MMA Engine YouTube channel for Probability, 7:15 Central Time. And we're going to be looking data-driven look at all of the over-unders on this card, and we'll be looking at this prop template for every single fight, trying to find you the over-under and fight goes and fight doesn't go to decision bets that have the best edge over the books, which give us the best long-term chance to be profitable gamblers. I don't think I'm going to do anything on my channel because it's kind of a light week this week. I'm kind of easing into the week off. I need it. There's a lot of behind the stuff, scenes stuff that I'm going to be doing on the week off. So I think I'm going to take tomorrow night off. But check me out tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio. Check me out Thursday on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. I'd like to thank each and every one of you that watched, that hit that thumbs up button, that have subscribed to this channel, that have subscribed to the MMA Engine YouTube channel, and to a special thanks to everybody that donated to the show. Thank you so much for that. You guys, the last thing that we have to do is stack cashed tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 55. I am out of here, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow on Pub Sports Radio. Mushroom is asking, what time is the show tomorrow with Brady? 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern. Thank you, guys. Good night.